What's going on, guys? Wade here. I'm the Millennial Stone Cleaner, and we are out to fix this headstone that has fallen over. This particular headstone has issues where it just simply has to balance on a really small point, and that's hard to do over time. So we're gonna get it back up, we're gonna level it. Let's get into it. We know that from the design of this is sitting on a foundation. I've already probed underneath here to feel there's a concrete foundation underneath it. But sometimes those shift. Concrete isn't permanent. A lot of people think that, oh, it just needs a foundation. But a lot of times these do move, soil gets under it, and so it's a whole host of issues there. So in order for us to get this back up and repaired and something that's going to last, we need to get down to that foundation, clean out, and then we need to level this. This has already been worked on one other time. This is an old repair, but you can tell that somebody's been here before. And a lot of the projects that I work on, somebody's already been here. It doesn't mean that they did bad work, and they'll probably look at the conservation practices that we have as well, and they'll think, oh, why were they doing that? Well, it's what we have available, and it's what our best practices are at this moment. So we're gonna get this upper base taken off. We're gonna pull out the lower base as well to look for that foundation, see where it's at, see where we need to fine tune it before we reassemble and clean up all these surfaces. With all the pieces out, I want to explore and probe for this foundation and find out where it actually lays and where we need to make some adjustments to it. So I'm gonna get my spade shovel out and do some poking around. So I've made a decision here that I'm gonna put a reinforced soil structure, a grid underneath this. The foundation here is failing. What I've got is lots of pieces like this that have been broken off on the top. I could certainly pack gravel in here, but I have a piece of grid with me and I've got access to gravel. So that's just what I'm gonna do. We'll probably reuse some of these pieces of concrete as well. But what we're gonna do is just dig down here, get good competent soil underneath here, get as much stable foundation as we can, and then we'll pack it with gravel and put the grid in, and that'll be a good solution for this one. This headstone is really eroded, and it's hard to see the name on here, but it is that of Charles Henry Patch. And Charles was born in 1849 in Middlesex County, Massachusetts, and his mom died when he was just 4 years old. He and his younger sister lived with his grandparents in Framingham, Massachusetts for a few years, and Dad, who was a laborer, lived just next door. His mom's sister, their aunt, took them in with her family, and by 1860, they were living in Franklin, Massachusetts. Their dad remarried a woman named Martha McQuilkin, and so the kids were reunited with Dad, and the family moved west to Iowa, where Dad was a conductor on the Des Moines Valley Railroad. This pin isn't necessarily going to help us anymore. We could reuse this, I suppose. It's not like it's a ferrous metal where it's going to rust. But with what I'm doing, I just don't see the benefit of that. So we're going to pull this pin out and we'll clean the hole out, clean up this mating surface. Just want to make sure that we have a really clean surface to work with. That way our materials will actually bond to it. Otherwise, if it's dirty like this, without a really good cleaning, it's not going to last. So we have to be cognizant about how we get this cleaned up first before we even think about assembling anything. Charles moved to Memphis in the early 1870s and worked as a telegraph operator for Western Union. In a letter home in 1873, he wrote of a great amount of death in the city as a result of the yellow fever epidemic. By 1880, he moved back to Iowa and was living with his father again, but I don't see an occupation listed for him. He died 1 year later in 1881 at the age of 33. spot on.
If this type of work looks interesting to you, if you're interested in cleaning headstones, check the links down in the description. I have some free classes on how to clean headstones and how to level headstones. And if you're interested in learning even more, I have a class that's coming out for that. It'll be released really soon, and it'll be a conservation class on how to do some of this work.
With all of our surfaces prepped and clean, we're ready to start bonding. So we're going to start getting this up on blocks to set this up to start using our monument setting compound and our epoxies. I want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreons. They're a special group of people that get some behind the scenes access to my content, and I also provide them with epilogues, which is sort of a video that I put together after the fact, after this is published, where I answer questions. What questions that went into what we're doing here, and maybe there's an interesting story that comes along that I don't share here publicly on YouTube. So if you're interested in something like that, if you're interested in supporting that work, check the link down in the description, Patreon. There's a great group of people over there that are already supporting me, and so thank you for those of you that are part of that group.